So, I redefine all of physics and I eventually give us a unified theory. I've already done it, it's proven, but the reason that it has to all be redefined is because we don't have it. So they don't know what they're looking for or what it is yet. So what I do is I redefine everything and recategorize it so that the future of humanity learns about existence in a way that causes us all to just be smarter and have a full grasp of what this is. What it results in is a scientific, technological, explosion. Does everybody understand? All the new generations, they understand it. They're just connected to this. They understand what everything is. They spend their time just learning and getting to know this. There aren't many questions left anymore. If they go, what's this? What's that? I just have faith, and I end a lot of that, all of it. But that's what they're afraid of, and they think, well, this has got to be like an antichrist or Satan. Absolutely not. I'm the real guy. So every place that I step up into, I guess they say it's a miracle. He's a miracle child. Let us take over. I really do this. So I'm doing it with physics. I'm going to do it with your world. I did it with your country and the Constitution. I don't even know, have any of your presidents ever done anything? That's what I make them look like. What were you guys doing? Since 1868, nobody read the Constitution, and since around 1970, we've had surveillance cameras, and nobody ever invested into just covering the whole nation and going, let's stop crime. We can't solve what we can't see. But for physics, everybody knows the presidential stuff. For physics, it's this. So I'm going to reclassify and recategorize all of this. So we have two states of, I'll call it, I might redefine the wording too, but because it's coming together, two states of energy, or the essence of energy. The essence of energy is eternal. I cover this all the time too through the first law of thermodynamics, which is the supreme and ultimate law of the conservation of energy, where all conservation of energy laws stem from. Like I said, because our country is the country of God, and that's why I'm the prophetic president, like the federal constitution. Everything stems from that at the state level, etc., but that's where it comes from, and that's what defines everything, and the supremacy clause tells us that. So the first law of thermodynamics acts like that for all of the laws of conservation of energy. It's like, well, look, before you start measuring anything, none of this can be destroyed, none of it can be created. So with that in mind, go at it. So what's happening is just conservation. What's happening to everything? It's all going somewhere and coming from somewhere. It's like, well, let's measure a little bit of it within a time frame. Now, if you just get rid of time frame and have it be not non-spatial, but that, because time space are related, but non-timely, it's eternal. It's just no beginning, no end. So we're just there's not even a hole. If you measure the whole thing, it's like it's just eternal. It's always conserved. It doesn't go anywhere. So the two states of energy would be that which travels at sea and is thus massless, and that which does not, which has mass. So that which does not comes in the 5 forms of energy that are matter. Those matter has a form to it. A form. A shape. It's a molecule. It's a nuclei, a nucleus, a nuclear particle. It's an atomic particle. We have names for all of these. Mesons. I could learn more too. So this is what I do. I'm redefining other things first, and then I just give the unified theory of everything, most likely. So there are mesons and there are leptons, these elementary particles like electrons, neutrinos, muons. We have massless point particles. So what I'm going to do is recategorize all of it and go, okay, now look. Here are the massless states of energy. Here's what they do. And some of those are most likely going to fall into force relation, like a gluon. It's supposed to be, or it's so-called. Now, if it has any mass at all, I throw that out. Well, then it doesn't qualify. But anything that has to do with the forces and it's a massless point particle, I go, well, here's what's going on here. And this is what's generating force, frequency, and binding these together. Through charges. It's a frequency charge. These things have charges. Here's the other forms of massless energy that travel at sea. They're in motion. Here's like light. Here's gravity waves, etc. These all travel at sea. And what we notice is, what we might find, what I'm starting to see too, is if it's consistent, only if it's consistent, is that when you travel at sea, you don't have mass. If you are involved in a force and you are the elementary, I don't know how to put this, if you're the elementary, like a gluon or a gauge boson, you're the elementary particle that's responsible for generating the force that binds, like a gluon, you have no mass. So those would fall into the forces. And then there'd be a relation there if they indeed have no mass. If you have mass, it's out. It's over. Even a tiny bit of mass, that's it, it's over. You have to have no mass to qualify. So I'll make special categories and go, here it all is. But then there is everything that has mass is a form of matter, and it may not travel at sea. This is all we observe everywhere. So that's what I would reclassify and categorize everything as, because, well, here are the, you could call it, well, the 5 forms of energy as matter, and then the 2 states, massless and mass, because that would add a sixth variety or variable to the 5 states of matter, and it's massless, and they don't include that. So when people learn about science and physics, I want that to be what they understand from the start, not just the 5 forms of matter, that, hey, there's the massless too. That's light. For the most part, that's what people see everywhere. That's the only way you can see. If it's pitch black, you can't see anything. Well, because our eyes aren't made for that. It has to do with our sensory organs as well, but there's a visible spectrum of light. That's what we call it, because that's what we see with. So we say the visible spectrum of light. It's just talking about what our eyes receive and see. We can create instruments that see beyond. So we look out here, there's that, and then there are the 4, I call it like the taxonomy of physics, of existence, of measurements, if you will, too. There's eternity, there's infinity, there's finite, and there's nothingness. And I explain and detail these well, because, well, there's eternal or infinite relativity, which gives a qualitative, infinite property or attribute to, like, a finite, but only in relation to eternity. See, I'm a finite, so I'm infinitely smaller than eternity. It's a quality, though, it's not a quantity. And then there are just 2 infinites, existing both qualitatively and quantitatively as a result of the quotient of 1/2 of eternity. And what we'll find is that the essence of eternity is found all the way down within all these things. So eternity itself is an immeasurable singularity. So it's a qualitative quantity. Quantities are described as, it has to have a quantity. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has to have some type of finite quantity. If something's immeasurable or eternity, that's just a quality. You can't measure this thing. It's eternal. So it has this quality to it. But as a result of its quality, it also has a quantity. So it's simultaneously, and I've covered this, 0 and 1, or a qualitative quantity. Now when you divide that, you slice that in half, you have 2 infinities. And they both possess the same thing. They take that with them. So what are you? Well, I can be considered 1/2. But I have a quality that's immeasurable as well. I go on forever in a direction. You just can't measure me as a finite. And then it's not even semantics, it's mathematical. As you could make the argument, well, this is 1/2. So it has these attributes and these qualities, but it retains quantitative quality of immeasurable. This one turns into 1/2 rather than 1. And it's kind of like what we see coming out of light, too. So what happens when you smash something that has no rest mass and a spin of 1 together? You get, antimatter particles. You get an electron and a positron that both end up having a spin of 1/2. So I explain everything. I'm like, well, here's all of existence, and this is what happened in the beginning, and the annihilation of light, and all this stuff will be found in there. That's what I do. By the way, I read a Wikipedia article that was updated 3 days ago, and they finally found the Higgs boson, and guess where it's at? The annihilation of light. Like, is that not what I've been saying? Why were you looking in hadrons? I mean, if you find it there, great. It just doesn't make any sense that that'd be the first place that you look when we know that when light annihilates, it generates mass. But some of the greatest ever, baby. You're a little peasant peon. Terrorist. Here in the city of Stockton, they drive by and listen, but it's not happening. They're little terrorists that drive by, these little butthole girls. So they're probably trying to steal my stuff and go, well, the female did it or something. It's like, it was a man eternally. There's nothing you can do about it. It's all masculinity and total domination over you and your little butthole. So that's what it is. 0 and 1. It's like a penis and a butthole. It just rams right up in there. So you split that in half. What do you get? It's my dad and his twin brothers. Well, you can get something out of it, but it's a mirror twin. And that is where the egg's at in a baby. But that one went up the vag. So you have all of these categorized. That's the new one. And you can just... This is how I am. Stuff I talk about. It's what this place did to me anyway. So, and this is kind of how I was with my friends in private. If I wanted to make a professional video, I'd do that too. This is how I always was with my friends in my privacy. So that's what these people are and what they do. So this is who I am anyway. I'll just talk about whatever I want because I have freedom of speech and liberties. And these people are just, they're all fucking nonsense. They don't understand the American Constitution. Something's about politics or an opinion or a behavioral health problem, like you don't have any rights anymore because a doctor said so. I was like, what the hell is this place? And now you have a detachment from reality, but you're the only guy who can explain it. So those are beautiful. C, non-C, 5 forms of energy as matter, and then the 2 states of form and formless, or C and non-C, light or massless and mass, and then the 4 categories of existence and how they are explained and beautifully tie together, nothingness and eternity, and their commonality, which is another unity. They both have no beginning and no ending. They're truly immeasurable. Eternity, because it does exist, and you just go, wow, it goes in one direction forever, never ends, in another direction forever, never ends. And nothingness, just because it doesn't exist. Okay, then it's all true. It doesn't exist, you can't measure it, so what does it not have? Any dimensions. Okay, well, when they share this, it can't be measured thing. I have no beginning and no end. They're both immeasurable. So it's the dichotomies of the immeasurables and the inseparable unity of the eternal singularity. Now, the inseparable unity is revealed when nothingness does not exist as a physical substance. Never can. It never will, never did. It just can't. It's nothingness, okay? And they have to end up wrapping their heads around this so they can accept ultimate reality. There's always and only something, and it's this. And I'll explain that for theists, too. So because it doesn't exist as a physical substance, it can't come between any 2 points in space. This space between me and this stuff over here, no matter how far away it is or how close it is full of energy. Different states, different forms. Matter and masslessness. C and non-C, all these different forms of energy are just connecting me to that. Fully. It's just 100% full of energy, but in some places more dense than others, or less dense than others. That's all this is. So, for theists, it's biblical, and for Richard Dawkins, you can just calm down, because, I got this. Okay, it's not a delusion, it's actually real, but I'm explaining it. And this is what it is. It's eternal, it's singular, it is omnipresent, omniscient, and thus omnipotent. And I'll explain that, and that's through me too. I was like, well, it did this through me, and it's all powerful. And it was able to flow backwards in time and tell you about it. And we'll figure out what that is eventually too. It all has to do with physics. So, what happens is, for theists, they look at the Bible and go, well, there's this place called heaven, right? There are these places, these beautiful places, these magical places. There's some place called heaven, right? So, well, it describes heaven. And what it defines is, well, there are these creatures, and they play music, and they have languages, and they have families and babies. Some of them are detailed in certain areas of the Bible. I go, well, if we know what they look like, there's light there. We can see. Well, we can hear them. They play music. There's matter then. They're solid. They're playing music. When there's masslessness, there's light. There's frequencies of sound flowing through the air. There's a central nervous system. So it's this stuff. So there's biology. So for theists, they go, no, well, no matter what you claim, and there's physics, no matter what you claim, it's this stuff. That's what science keeps telling us. Well, that's what this is too. And that's the first law of thermodynamics again. It can't be created, can't be destroyed. Wherever this place is at, another world, or you just jump off to whatever this is, it's the same stuff. It's the same idea, the same thing. Here are creatures. They can see, they can hear, they can talk. They can even, I guess, reproduce. Some of them have children in some accounts. These angels or these creatures. I'm like, okay, well, it's just dealing with science and physics again. Now, where'd they get this mysticism and this magic from? Like, there's some place out here and it can defy everything. And angels can defy anything, and God can. This can just defy all of everything. It just doesn't exist. And that's not what all-powerful means. There are some biblical accounts in scriptures, and they go, anything you find, it's a metaphor. Or there's a physical explanation for it. So it's all this stuff. I think that's what we are. Well, we're creatures, and we can hear, and we play music and lyres, and we can see, and it's this. Well, then some guy comes down, and he goes, I'm establishing heaven on earth. So it's not only out there or wherever this is at, it's here and comes to here. And he does it through giving us the one true eternity. And so this would be it. It's the energy. God's the essence of existence. It's all this stuff. It's anywhere and everywhere that it's at. These angels are in heaven with God. That means that if they're on another world, they've already come to this realization. They've had this ultimate reality breakthrough. And there's probably, if not one, a couple, or if only one, he's just the prophetic figure, and he does this on every planet. And it's a result of the build-up and accumulation of science and knowledge. So that's the nature of life. That's how civilization works with intelligent creatures that have central nervous systems. They exchange knowledge, and because they have memory banks, I've explained where a thought comes from. And that's the whole point of this, is the nature of life for a doctor. We have memory banks, we have senses, and that's how we collect knowledge, and we store it. We write it down. We have this intelligence. We create or have concepts. Where'd those come from? Why do we learn language? And it has to do with our brain, and it has to do with evolution, and just really, it's like, well, we can just say God's plan, because we can get deep down into the epistemology and etymology of words and existence and go, what is it? And the essence is eternal. Always. It just goes back forever. You can't create, can't destroy. It's just the result of physical properties and, well, God's plan. So we accumulate knowledge and we share it, and this is the point that we get to. It's like, well, look at this. If somebody created a car, right? This truck right here. If somebody created the truck. An engine, combustion engine, gasoline, but didn't share it with anybody. We wouldn't be doing this. There wouldn't be people driving around all over the planet and airplanes everywhere, and this guy delivering stuff to a house over here, right? This type of stuff. We share it. We accumulate and we share. So this happens all throughout the universe. Should there be other intelligent creatures, they'd be doing the same thing. So that's the nature of our life. Now see this tree out here. It also has a nature. It's alive. It has a digestive system, a respiratory system. It just functions. Because that's what physics and biology said, here's what you have to do on this planet in these conditions. But it doesn't have a central nervous system, so it can't share knowledge. But kind of like us, it just lives out its life and its plan. So that's the nature of a tree's life. The nature of an intelligent civilization and intelligent creatures is just the spread of knowledge. We gather, we're able to think because we have a memory and senses, and we perceive, and then knowledge increases, and because of this scientific knowledge we create instruments. And it's just the nature of our life. Now people will explain it deeper, and it has been and is deeper than this, but this is also at the same time, it's simultaneously as deep as it gets. Generality, but this is the nature of life, because you could go back forever. Like I said, well, where did it start from? Well, it's eternal. it doesn't mean that I want to kill the curiosity for knowledge, because, well, but deep inside, everybody should just know, well, this is just, even theists, well, this even God's plan. This is the nature of life. It's the nature of civilization. This is what we do, is we share knowledge. We accumulate knowledge, we share knowledge, and science leads to all these discoveries and explorations, and eventually the one true eternity. So I have to reclassify, recategorize a lot of just the way that we think about physics and science. It's mostly physics. And then also point out that all these physics laws are occurring everywhere in nature, including in biology and biological functions. Because I have to unite everything. So the first law of thermodynamics and the conservation of energy is occurring in the tree as well, in our bodies, everywhere, everything. That's all this is. So it's all united already. It just needs to be explained by somebody who also brings everything together, and that's me. With the tree, nothing's being destroyed, nothing's being created. It's just using energy, and we can measure it over a short time, I went over this, or a long time frame. And if we had it in like a somewhat closed system, we could account for where all the energy is going, where it's coming from. And it's just the conservation of energy being measured in biological systems. So it's everywhere. It's all connected. But I'm the guy who, it's my mission to rule the world, take over and make a statement on science and physics and go, yeah, it's all united. This is the unified theory in general right now of everything. What is everything? Anything you'll ever find, everything that exists. It just can't be separated, period. That's the logic of physics. It's physical. It's physics. So, and then it has to be recategorized and reclassified. So, like I said, the new generation that grows up, you teach your kid. There's solid, liquid, gas. And then there's light. There's massless forms of energy. And they walk around, and they're actually mentally healthy, and they know what existence and reality is. So, anything you have faith in is still the same. It's energy. It's all the Bible explains. It didn't explain some mystical, magical place where we can't comprehend or conceive of it. It's telling us what it is. Creatures, angels, stuff, it's this. That's what is required for us to explain those things, or for those things to be explained to us. The central nervous system and the states of energy.